Hi everybody, this is my third video in my series about why I loathe pseudoscience, and this one is a reference to a couple of YouTube users who I've recently unsubscribed to for reasons which I shall explain through the course of this video. These users are Freelee the banana girl and her, I think it's her fiance, certainly her significant other anyway, Durian Riders, whose real name is Harley, I believe. Now, I am, among other things, vegan, and one of the reasons I'm a vegan is for health. I find it has a lot of health benefits. One of the noted ways in which veganism is beneficial to a person's health is it can reduce risks of things like heart disease and certain types of cancer. And there's good sort of evidence to suggest that it's a good choice of diet. Diets that are high in fruit and vegetables and have little, or in this case no meat in them, no dairy in them, tend to be quite good, quite healthy. However, what we have to be careful of here is to distinguish the difference between a diet that can reduce the risk of getting certain types of cancer and a diet that can cure cancer, because this is one of the things Freelee and Harley promote, or come very close to promoting in some of their videos. Freelee did a video a while ago directed at Charles Trippy, who of course recently, I think it's over the last year or so, might be a bit longer, had been suffering from cancer, and I believe is on the road to recovery. He's had surgery, as far as I'm aware, and he's on the road to recovery, and she was recommending the vegan diet to him. Now that I don't have a problem with so much with. Yes, it's a good diet, it helps reduce risk of cancer, it's a very healthy diet. The problem is, in the video she did, where she was doing this, she came dangerously close to suggesting veganism can cure cancer. She did include portions of a video made by a company or organisation or whatever who promote a raw vegan diet as an alternative to things like chemotherapy, and actually suggests somehow that chemotherapy is some sort of scam, and that really a raw vegan diet is what you need to cure cancer. Now that is quite alarming. That is quite alarming. There is really no good evidence to suggest a vegan diet can cure cancer. It may be a good diet to reduce the risks of cancer. It may be a healthy diet to go on if you have cancer, to try and stop feeding that cancer or whatever. There are arguments you can make, and this is one of the things I have, big problems I have with pseudoscience. It can be, when not looked at very closely, it can be dangerously similar to real science. It can sort of look the same until you scratch the surface of it, and that's when you realise, actually no, this is not the same. So there's a very superficial similarity between the pseudoscience here and the real science, but they are not the same thing. Now, that is very worrying, and there were some comments on her video as well from her supporters saying things like that the medical community is all one big scam, that they promote cancer treatments, cancer medicine, medicines for treating cancer that don't work. This was the sort of summary of the argument. The medical community apparently knows this stuff won't work and just deliberately promotes it because they make money, which isn't really how it works for a start. And they're promoting this. So basically the argument is they're deliberately letting people get cancer and die, and letting them die from it, just so they can make money from drugs. And that's the accusation being levelled here. And really they all actually know that a raw vegan diet is what's going to cure everything. Now that's not only wrong, it's really insulting, isn't it? If you think about how hard doctors, nurses, everyone else work, how tirelessly they work to save lives, how many lives they save on a daily basis, and here these people are making these absolutely baseless accusations, that they are somehow trying to grub money in a way that wouldn't even work. That's not even a very good way to try and scam people with money. It's a conspiracy theory, basically, and like all conspiracy theories, the problem is large numbers of people really can't keep secrets. It just doesn't work. It's just such an impractical idea. So I'm appalled by that. I'm appalled by that. I am a vegan. I fully recommend the vegan diet if you want to improve your health a bit, if you want to lose weight, if you want to reduce the risk of certain types of cancer. But I do not believe in miracle cures for cancer. If there's a cure for cancer, it's going to be found through scientific research and so on. And yes, vegan diet, great, it can reduce the risks of cancer, but it's not a cure for it, and that's something we have to be careful to draw the distinction between. What's actually worse than that is what they've posted even more recently. Now, both Freelee and Harley did videos on this. These were relating to the death of Robin Williams, which, as far as the most media sources seem to be saying, was a suicide. I don't know too much about it, but at least at the time that was generally what everyone understood. Some people have suggested it might not have been a suicide, but let's say for the moment it was. Now, I didn't like either Freelee or Harley's videos on this, because they were both basically using Robin Williams' death to try and promote their fitness plan, to try and promote their raw vegan high carb fitness plan, their diet. Between the two, though, Harley's was way worse. It was way worse. The argument they're making basically is Robin Williams killed himself because he didn't have enough carbs. Apparently, if he'd been eating more carbohydrates, he wouldn't have been depressed and wouldn't have wanted to commit suicide. What kind of argument is that? I mean, carbohydrates are great. They're an excellent source of slow-release sugars. They're great for keeping your energy up if you do things like running or cycling or kickboxing or whatever else. But what the hell? I mean, you think carbohydrates can replace antidepressants? You think that just lacking carbs in your diet is going to make you depressed? So bear in mind, he wasn't, on some kind of Atkins diet or whatever. Not as far as I'm aware, anyway. And Harley makes the argument that because he supposedly wasn't getting enough carbs in his diet, that's why he was an alcoholic, because alcohol is high carb. But the problem there is, I mean, just because alcohol is high carb doesn't mean that's why, what makes people alcoholics. I mean, as far as I'm aware, alcoholism is kind of a genetic thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but it's something you're kind of born with. You're kind of born with that kind of nervous system, and it's basically to do with up here. You've got that kind of, internal makeup, if you like, that just makes you prone to addiction. The idea that somehow if you're just eating a load of rice or something, somehow he's suddenly going, oh, I don't want to be an alcoholic anymore. Yeah, I was getting all my carbs from that alcohol there, but now I've got some rice instead. Yeah, I'm done with the bottle. I mean, Alcoholics Anonymous would love that. Or anyone trying to give up beer. Do you think people who are trying to give up alcoholism, trying to give up alcohol, have just never occurred to eat some fucking chips? Or some fucking jacket potatoes, or some rice, or whatever, or some pasta. Come on, it's nothing to do with lack of carbs. It's an addiction. It's an addiction to the drug itself. The fact that it comes with a load of carbs is just, a red herring. That really is not where the addiction comes from. But Harley's video, what's worse is, rather than this, he's using someone's suicide to promote his high carb diet, and he's using a load of ridiculous non-scientific gibberish to try and do this. But what's worse is he described Robin Williams as a failure. As a failure because he committed suicide. And that is what he said. I am not deriving that from what he said. I'm not twisting his words or reading into the subtext. That is actually what he said. I just think, fuck you. Fuck you, and grow some fucking morals, you fucking asshole. Who the fuck are you to call someone a fucking failure? What did they have some obligation to you personally not to kill themselves? And some people in some people in the comment section were arguing, oh, you know, that he was, well, one person in particular was saying, oh, he is a failure, he gave up on life. Like, just fuck off. Like, when you call someone a failure, it's generally accepted and generally well known that is used as an insult. You know, if we call someone a failure, we're not just making a matter-of-fact statement that they didn't succeed at something. Although even then, I mean, Robin Williams, again, is not under any obligation to succeed at life and in your standards. You know, as to what you... He's under no obligation to be what you would personally consider to be a success. We know full well the word failure is an insult. It's a way of trashing someone. And no, it's absolutely appalling for Harley to do that so soon after his death, or even later on, but especially so soon after his death. And to make such a judgment. You know, don't fucking judge people like that. Someone is dead. Just let them rest in peace. That's why we use that phrase. Even though I'm an atheist, I still kind of understand the importance of the phrase let people rest in peace. You know, don't stop digging up all sorts of nonsense about them. Let their friends and their family mourn them peacefully. Let them pass. Let their death be something that happens without everyone trying to jump on board it and try and use it as an excuse to promote their whatever stupid bullshit, their diet they want to promote or the political opinions they want to promote. I mean, okay, certain sort of mental health groups and anti-suicide groups and whatever have used his death in a way to talk as an opportunity to talk about the issue of depression and suicide, and yeah, of course, that's fine. That's, if there's anything you're going to use this situation for to drive any kind of positive out of it, I suppose it should be that, to bring that issue up and to talk positively about this and talk about trying to prevent people from committing suicide, trying to help people who might have suicidal feelings. But fucking hell, promoting your diet and your fitness plan, what the hell? So again, I've strayed a little bit off the topic of pseudoscience there, I suppose, but this series is called Why I Loathe Pseudoscience. It's not called Pseudoscience Debunked, because it's not really my job to do that. I'm not really qualified to sort of debunk pseudoscience, although, let's be honest, a lot of it isn't that difficult to debunk. It's more about why I loathe it, and this is why I loathe it, because it can be used to promote some utterly repulsive, utterly dangerous, incredibly stupid ideas. So yeah, anyway, there's a bit of a side note. I'm very tempted to maybe start doing a few more videos on veganism. I don't want it to become the overall focus of my channel, but I don't like the idea of my channel becoming mono-focused in any sense. I try and cover a few different topics. But I don't really like the idea that it's people like this who seem to be representing veganism out there. There's quite a wide variety of different people within veganism. I would say Freelee and Harley fit into what I would call the woo category, because they're the people who have the kind of conspiracy theorist idea that somehow, you know, the medical community, like we're saying, is sort of conspiring to make it against vegans, lying to us to make us all eat meat. Which actually, I've got to be honest, in my personal experience, admittedly this is just my personal experience, I mean, I don't go to the doctor very often, but on the occasions I have, and if I've mentioned I'm a vegan, never been a problem. I've never had a doctor say, oh no, you start eating meat, because we're getting money off the meat industry, so we've got to tell them to eat meat. No, never had that problem. I think last time I went for a routine checkup, I think the nurse, when I said, I'm a vegan, she said, oh, good, she said. You know, she saw that as a very positive thing. In fact, so that is just my personal experience, but doctors I've been to, I mean, I'm assuming they all tend to train at the same sort of colleges and learn the same stuff, and they've never had a problem with me being a vegan. It's not something they've ever worried about. And of course the World Health Organization encourages, I think it's now between 5 and 10 portions of fruit and veg a day. It's obviously, they don't seem to be in the pocket of the meat industry or the dairy industry at all, really. So I might try and do a few more videos on this. The main ones I've done so far have just been things like cookery, just recipes. That's sort of more the thing I want to do. I don't particularly want to preach to people, but at the same time I don't really want to avoid expressing my views on the matter. But yeah, I might do that. Reluctant to do debates. If anyone wants to debate me about veganism, by the way, it's gonna have to. If your argument is veganism is wrong because I like pork pies, I don't want to debate you, sorry. I'm not interested in debating your preferences. I'm not interested. Your preferences are your own business. But if people want to have a debate about whether it's, about things like the animal cruelty issue or the health or the world economics and so on, that's a different matter. That might be interesting, depending on who it's with. But alright. Let me know what you think, everyone. Goodbye.